Look at this photograph from 1905. Two little boys, identical twins, about 6 years old. They wear matching sailor suits, the same haircuts, the same faces, standing side by side like mirror images. It is cute, it is pure. It is a perfect picture of childhood. But when digital restoration experts improved this 119-year-old photo in 2024, they found something in the image that made them freeze. Something about these twins is not right. Something is seriously wrong. And what the restoration showed would turn this sweet portrait into something very sad. Subscribe, because what looked cute hides a tragedy. And you won't believe what these experts found. The photograph came to the New York Historical Society in March 2024 as part of the Sullivan family collection. Hundreds of early 20th century photos donated by descendants of Irish immigrant families who settled in New York's Lower East Side. Among many usual period pictures, this one caught the archivist's eyes right away. It showed two young boys, around 6 years old, who were clearly identical twins. The photo was taken in a professional studio, clear from the formal painted background and controlled lighting. The setup was simple and sweet. Two small boys, standing next to each other, placed to highlight their amazing likeness. Both wore identical sailor suits, common children's clothes, in the early 1900s. The suits were white with navy blue collars and edges, giving a neat, fresh look. Both had matching navy blue caps on their heads at the same angle. Both boys had light-colored hair cut in the exact same way, short and tidy, typical for young Edwardian boys. Their hair looked freshly combed for the picture. The boys stood very close, their small bodies almost touching. They were at exactly the same height, in identical poses. Both looked straight at the camera. Most striking was how very similar the two boys looked. Their faces had the clear signs of identical twins. The same face shape, the same features, the same overall look. At first glance, they seemed like perfect mirror images, two copies of the same child. Both boys had calm, quiet expressions. The neutral, steady looks common in early 1900s child photos. Neither smiled. Smiling was rare in formal pictures of that time, but their faces looked peaceful and nice. Everything in the photograph suggested a cute, charming portrait of identical twin brothers. Two healthy, well-dressed children from a family well off enough to buy matching sailor suits and pay for professional photos. The matching clothes, matching poses, matching faces all showed their special twin connection. The photograph itself had heavy damage typical of 119-year-old images. Lots of fading, water spots, brown spots, cracks. The usual aging effects were bad. Many small details were lost after more than a century. On the back of the photograph, written in faded ink, the O'Brien twins, New York, April 1905. Dr. Rebecca Martinez, the Historical Society's curator of early 20th century photography, gave her first opinion with warmth. Charming portrait of identical twin boys, about 6 years old, early 1905 New York studio photo. Both in matching sailor suits with navy caps, identical positioning and styling to show twin bond. Subjects identified as the O'Brien twins, April 1905. Lovely example of Edwardian twin photography showing identical brothers. The matching sailor suits are especially sweet. Recommend high-resolution restoration to bring back detail and save this nice example of twin portraiture. Dr. Martinez was especially charmed by how the photo captured the special quality of identical twins, two children who were basically mirror images of each other. The matching sailor suits added to the cute feel, making a picture that highlighted their identical nature in a way that felt both proper and warm. She set the photograph for quick restoration, seeing it as a great example of early 20th century family photography, pure, sweet, keeping a moment of childhood twin closeness. But Dr. Rebecca Martinez had no clue what the restoration would show. She had no idea there was something wrong with this photo, something hidden for 119 years by fading and age. She had no idea that when specialists looked at this image under very high magnification, they would find something that changed everything about how she saw this cute portrait. Something about these twins was not right, and the restoration was going to show exactly what was wrong. Dr. Thomas Chen, the Society's senior digital restoration specialist, started work on the O'Brien twins photo as part of normal processing. His goal was to improve the badly faded image and bring back details lost over 119 years. As Dr. Thomas Chen worked with the photo at higher and higher magnifications, he began to notice small things that seemed a bit odd. Details so tiny they were hard to see, but they created an uneasy feeling the more he looked. The first thing he noticed was the boys' positions. At normal view, both seemed to stand naturally side by side, but when Dr. Chen checked their postures at higher magnification, he saw that one boy's position looked very slightly different. The boy on the right seemed to have a posture that was a bit more stiff, a bit more perfectly straight than the boy on the left. It was a small difference, something most people would miss, but to Dr. Chen's trained eye, something about how perfectly upright the boy on the right stood felt a little off. When Dr. Chen brightened the darker areas behind the figures, he thought he saw very faint shadows behind the boy on the right. Shadows that might mean something was there, though he could not be sure what. He then started looking at the boys' faces more closely. Since they were identical twins, their faces were naturally very alike. But as Dr. Chen told twins, their faces were naturally very alike. Chen zoomed in more. He noticed very small differences that made him uneasy. The boy on the left's face, when looked at closely, showed what seemed like normal skin texture and color, but the boy on the right's face, at the same zoom, had a quality that seemed very slightly different. Though Dr. Chen could not quite say what was wrong, it was not that one boy looked clearly sick or hurt. It was not obvious signs of illness or injury. It was something more subtle, a quality to the skin, a certain look in the eyes, small details that alone meant little, but together built a growing sense that something was not quite right. Dr. Martinez, Dr. Chen said, when he called the curator, his voice unsure, "I need you to see something in the O'Brien twins photograph. I'm noticing some details that seem strange. I can't fully explain what's wrong, but something about one of these boys does not look right. The differences are very small. Maybe I'm seeing things that aren't there, but I think you should look at the enhanced scans. Something about this photograph is not what we thought." Dr. Martinez came to the lab right away. As Dr. Martinez, Chen showed her the improved images. Both experts felt growing worry. Something was wrong with this cute portrait of twin boys, but neither could yet say exactly what they were seeing or understand how upsetting the truth would be. As Dr. Chen and Dr. Martinez studied the enhanced scans together, the small differences between the two boys became clearer and more troubling. What had seemed like tiny variations started to form a pattern, and that pattern pointed to something neither expert wanted to accept. Dr. Chen showed Dr. Martinez the position analysis. "Look at how the boy on the right is standing," he said, pointing to the enhanced image. "His posture is completely stiff, perfectly straight, with no natural change. The boy on the left shows small shifts, minor unevenness that is normal in any living person. But the right boy is held in this perfect upright position. When they brightened the shadows behind the right boy even more, the faint signs of some kind of support became clearer. Not obvious, but there. Something was behind him, something keeping him in that perfect vertical pose. Now look at the face details," Dr. Chen went on, zooming in on both boys' faces, side by side. "Compare the skin quality. Under very high magnification, the difference became more clear. The left boy's skin showed natural changes in color and texture, the living quality of a child's face. The right boy's skin had a subtle but noticeable difference, a quality that seemed wrong, though still not clear. Most upsetting were the eyes. When examined at maximum zoom, both boys' eyes were open and facing the camera, but the left boy's eyes showed normal focus, small signs of life and awareness. The right boy's eyes had a different quality, a very faint glass-like look, a subtle lack of the wetness and living qualities seen in his twins' eyes. Dr. Martinez felt her stomach turn. "Are you saying what I think you're saying?" Dr. Martinez felt her stomach turn. Chen nodded slowly. "I think we need to look up the O'Brien family. I think we need to find out what happened in April 1905, because I'm more and more sure that one of these boys was not alive when this photograph was taken. This cute portrait of twin boys in sailor suits might actually be something different. A memorial photo, a post-mortem picture, hidden as a normal portrait. But if one boy was dead, which one? The differences were so small that even under high magnification, both experts struggled to be completely sure. The boys were identical twins. They naturally looked almost the same. Adding death to one would create only the smallest changes, especially if that child had been carefully prepared for the photo. Martinez started research right away. She checked New York City death records from April 1905, looking for any record of a child named O'Brien. As she searched, both experts kept examining the photograph, looking for any more clues. The longer they looked, the more sure they became that something was basically wrong with this image. The boy on the right showed too much stillness, too much perfection in his position. His skin quality, his eyes, the fur, way his sailor suit hung, all suggested something that neither expert wanted to admit, but that was becoming clear. The boy on the left, by contrast, showed all the small signs of a living child. Natural small changes in posture, living skin quality, eyes with awareness and focus. "I found something," Dr. Martinez said suddenly, her voice tight. She was looking at her computer screen at a death certificate from April 1905. Dr. Chen came over to see. As he read the document, he felt a cold chill. The cute portrait of twin boys in sailor suits was indeed something else entirely, and what Dr. Martinez had found would confirm their worst fears and show a story of loss, sorrow, and a family's desperate try to keep one last image of their sons together, even though one was already gone. But the full truth, which twin had died, how, and the sad details of this photograph was only starting to come out, and what the complete restoration would show would turn this charming image into something deeply sad. Dr. Martinez read the death certificate out loud, her voice low. Thomas Patrick O'Brien, age 6 years, 2 months. Date of death, April 8th, 1905. Cause diphtheria. Twin of Michael James O'Brien, surviving. Twin of Michael James O'Brien, surviving. Address: Lower East Side, Manhattan. The cute portrait of twin boys showed itself for what it really was, a memorial photograph. One of those boys, Thomas, age 6, was already dead when this photo was taken. His identical twin brother, Michael, was standing beside his carefully prepared body. Census records confirmed the O'Brien family. Patrick O'Brien, age 38, laborer. Catherine O'Brien, age 35, keeping house. Twin sons, Michael James O'Brien and Thomas Patrick O'Brien, both age 6 at the time of death. The sad story came together. Thomas caught diphtheria, a bacterial infection that was one of the main causes of child death in the early 20th century. The disease hit the throat and airways, often causing death by choking as thick membranes blocked breathing. Thomas died on April 8, 1905. The photograph on the back was dated simply April 1905, but based on memorial photography customs, it was almost certainly taken on April 9th or 10th, within 1 to 2 days of Thomas's death, and just before his burial, which family records showed happened on April 11th at Calvary Cemetery in Queens. Thomas's sailor suit, examined at very high resolution, showed signs of very careful arrangement, positioned with perfect care on a body that could not move or fix itself, and Michael, the living twin, showed signs of barely held grief. His eyes were slightly red from crying. His expression, while formerly calm, showed a child trying hard to stay still while standing beside his dead brother's body. The restoration showed the full truth. This was not a cute portrait of healthy twin boys. This was a memorial photograph made after Thomas's death from diphtheria. Thomas's body had been carefully prepared. Dressed in a sailor suit, matching Michael's, positioned with special supports to stand upright. All to make one last photograph where both boys appeared together, where their twin bond seemed whole. For Michael, age 6, this photo session must have been unbearable. He had to stand beside his identical twin's body, his mirror image, his other half, his constant friend, both dressed in matching sailor suits, while a photographer made an image that pretended both were still alive. The photograph that had seemed to show cute twin boys in charming sailor suits revealed itself as an image of deep loss. One twin dead at age 6, the other forced to stand beside his twin's carefully prepared body, both made to look identical to keep the illusion that nothing had changed, that the twin bond was still whole, even though it had been broken forever by death. What had seemed cute was actually heartbreaking. What had seemed pure was actually tragic. And what had seemed like a perfect portrait of childhood was actually a moment of huge loss hidden as normal. With the photograph's true nature clear, Dr. Martinez increased her research into the O'Brien family and the sad details around Thomas's death and this memorial portrait. What she found added deep meaning to an already terrible image. The O'Brien family was working-class Irish immigrants living in Manhattan's Lower East Side, one of the city's poorest and most crowded areas. Patrick O'Brien worked as a dock laborer on the waterfront. The family lived in a crowded tenement with many families sharing basic facilities. Michael and Thomas were born on February 1st, 1899, identical twin sons who from birth were very similar. Family letters described them as impossible to tell apart, and census records noted simply twins, identical. Thomas got sick in early April 1905 with signs of diphtheria, sore throat, fever, trouble breathing. The disease moved fast. Even though diphtheria antitoxin had been developed by 1905, it was costly and not easy for poor immigrant families to get. Thomas died on April 8, 1905 at age 6 years and 2 months. For Michael, losing Thomas meant losing his identical twin, the person who had been with him from the start, who shared his face, who was his constant companion and playmate. The photograph was taken on April 9th or 10th, 1905, within 2 days of Thomas's death, and 1 day before his burial on April 11th at Calvary Cemetery. For the O'Brien family, the sailor suits were a big expense. Working-class families usually could not afford such clothes. The suits were likely bought or borrowed just for this photograph. The family's way of giving their sons one dignified, beautiful portrait, and it would be the only photograph the family ever had of both their sons together. Most remarkably, Dr. Surrey Martinez found a short memoir written in 1965 by Michael O'Brien Walsh, married name changed, then 66 years old, as part of an oral history project about Lower East Side childhood. In that memoir, Michael briefly but strongly described the memorial photograph. This memoir, kept in the New York Public Library, Oral History Archives, confirmed everything the restoration had shown and added Michael's voice, describing the experience 59 years later and revealing what that cute photograph really showed. The photograph stayed in the O'Brien family through many generations, eventually going to Michael's granddaughter, who donated it to the New York Historical Society in 2024, knowing its nature as a memorial photograph, but wanting to preserve this important and painful family memory. The photograph of Michael and Thomas O'Brien, identical twin brothers in cute sailor suits, one living and one dead, properly understood, becomes more than an example of early 20th century memorial photography. It becomes a record of the unique grief of losing a twin, of childhood pain, of immigrant poverty and loss, and of a 6-year-old boy's impossible task, standing beside his dead twin brother, his mirror image, his other half, both dressed identically to create one final illusion of twin wholeness that had already been broken. Early 20th century memorial photography that included surviving children with deceased twins was especially hard because the visual likeness made the loss even clearer. The living twin stood beside a body that looked exactly like his own, creating an image that both preserved their twin bond and reminded that the bond had been broken. The O'Brien family situation gives key context. They were very poor Irish immigrants who had never been able to afford family photography while the twins were alive. This memory, our photograph, would be the only photograph the family ever had of their twin sons. The sailor suits, cute to our eyes, represented a huge financial sacrifice for a family barely surviving on dock laborer wages. For Michael, the cost was enormous. Standing beside Thomas's body, his twin, his mirror image, his other half, both dressed in identical sailor suits, both positioned to emphasize their twin bond, even as that bond was being broken by death. This was trauma that he carried for 59 years, still feeling the loss even at age 66, still remembering the moment he stood beside his brother's corpse, pretending everything was normal. The photograph that seemed cute, two little boys in charming sailor suits, actually showed something much sadder. One twin dead from diphtheria, the other forced to stand beside his twin's body, both made to look as identical as possible, creating one final image that preserved and denied reality at the same time. When we look at this photograph now, knowing what it really shows, we see many layers of tragedy. A child dead at 6 from a preventable disease. Immigrant poverty making proper medical care impossible. A surviving twin losing his mirror image. And one final photograph that created an illusion of wholeness, even as that wholeness was being destroyed. The restoration revealed not just that one twin was deceased, but the devastating truth hidden beneath 119 years of fading and age, that what seemed cute was actually heartbreaking, that what looked pure was actually tragic, and that sometimes the sweetest images hide the saddest stories. Michael O'Brien stood beside Thomas's body on April 9th or 10th, 1905, dressed in a sailor suit he had never worn before, and lost the person who looked exactly like him. That loss, captured in a photograph that seemed cute until restoration revealed its truth, stayed with Michael for the remaining 59 years of his life. And now, 119 years later, that photograph continues to tell its heartbreaking story about twin bonds, about loss, about what lies hidden beneath cute surfaces, and about a little boy in a sailor suit who had to say goodbye to his mirror image while pretending nothing was wrong.